Hello everybody and welcome to the GMS magazine videos. Mantic is well known for producing very cool, very nice board games, but currently there is a role-playing game in Kickstarter being funded called Kings of War based on their universe. I have got access to the quick start guide and I've taken a look at it. Now, is this role-playing game going to be worth the amount of money that you have to pay to get your hands on it? I am about to tell you. Welcome to the GMS Magazine RPG Reviews. We are very used to seeing games produced by Mantic like this one, the Dungeon Saga game, with very high production values and some fantastic minis, and it's a very good game, well worth trying. Now, thanks to Red Scar, they are jumping the boat and going on to role-playing games. As I was saying, I had access to the quick rules, quick start guide for this immense universe that gives me a glimpse into what it is going to be like to play this game. It also gives me a very good look at what the production value is going to be regarding the layout, the artwork, etc, etc. And I have to say that the quick start rules are actually very decent, and if the whole book is going to be the same, then yes, I am going to be very happy to hold that tome in my hands. The cover is lovely, as you can see, and the rest of the game actually plays very nicely. It's a lovely cartography, and the layout is quite simple with enough illustrations and good atmospherics. Let's talk a little bit about the system. The Tri-Core is the system that this game is going to use, and is based on dice pools of D10s. If you are not keen on dice pools, then you're gonna have to think twice as to whether you want to play this game or not. But let me tell you that there is a limit to the number of dice that you can roll, so it's never going to become an insanely huge amount of dice that are really difficult to control once you roll. The basics is that you're going to roll 3 d10s, and to those d10s, depending on circumstances, that can be a word that will allow you to add a feature, like for example if a sword is a fine sword or has some sort of magical power, then you will be able to add 1, 2, 3 dice to the pool. Not a lot more than that. Those dice are going to give you successes, and the successes are going to depend on the level of complexity of the task. A very simple task will be a 1. An epic, complicated task will need 6s or more. Depending on how many of those numbers you roll, those are successes. So for instance, say that you need to climb a wall, but the wall is slippery because it's raining and you do not have the right equipment to climb that wall. You roll your 3 dice, and the GM is going to say that it's a difficulty of 5. Well, anything that rolls over 5 is a success. So as you can tell, things begin to get a little bit tricky. You can add more dice or reduce the difficulty depending on what kind of tools or instruments you have for any given task. Of course, you only need to roll these dice if the task itself requires it. If it's something menial, then you don't need to do it. Except if we go into a little bit better into the rules themselves, there are rules for basically paybacks and exploding dice, and that's to add the action and the drama to the whole thing. If you roll a 10 on a die, that die explodes. That means that you roll it again with a chance of getting another 10, which will explode again. So you're getting cumulative successes. That's how you get lots of successes for tasks that require a lot of successes. Say, for example, that you need to, going on onto the climbing wall example, that you need 10 successes to get all the way to the top, because it's a very tall wall. So you need to roll multiple times, unless you roll and roll and roll and manage to get so many successes that you do it all in one go. That's amazing. You can also get paybacks. You generate a payback when you roll a 1 or a 6. What's cool about paybacks? Paybacks are like little points that you keep in reserve and you can use to either trigger effects like powers that may have a weapon. For instance, there's a sword that if you spend a payback, you get to inflict 1 extra point of damage, 1 extra point of damage through the defense, or add the word poisoned to your target. However, that you do it, but you have to sacrifice something. Nothing is free in this game at all. So if you use a payback, yes, you're going to get a better result, but you're going to have a little obstacle to get over. Like, for example, you're going to trigger that extra little punch in the face if you're in a fight, or if you're trying to open to pick a lock, that your tools may suffer a little bit. Something like that. Nothing that's going to hinder the task itself or deny the successes. Once the successes are there, the task is performed. But if you have a payback, that makes things a little bit more interesting. You also get something that's daring and mishaps. For every 10 you roll in a particular roll, you get 2 daring points, and only 2 per roll. That's it. You cannot be accumulating them too much, and they disappear fairly quickly. So you have to use them. And what they allow you to do is to again add more effects, little bits of effects, little advantages that will help you a great deal. But then if you're going to use daring points, you're also going to use mishaps that are going to add even more problems, more hindrances and obstacles to whatever it is you want to do. Combat is actually quicker than I thought it was going to be. When I was reading the combat, and let me see if I can get, here it is, actions in combat, I thought, because of the number of things that you have to do, that this was going to be quite sluggish. Actually, isn't. It is the first 2 or 3 times that you try the system because, essentially, you don't know what you're doing. But once you get on with it, rolling the initiative is next to nothing, and then you just add whatever it is you want to add, and everybody goes in order. Now, the GM has a couple of very interesting things that I did like an awful lot, and is that the GM can pay a payback to go first. You can get a minion to go before the players. Then the players will go. The order is not altered, but you can get a little bit of a surprise. That sort of thing that the GM can choose to use or not, I actually liked quite a lot, because it gives a little bit of variety. You know, it may allow you to start the combat in a way that you think, yeah, this is going to be quite easy. These are just grunts. Grunts are minions in this game. And then all of a sudden they attack first. And they swarm. And when they swarm, they can become quite dangerous. So you have to be very careful. Combat in this is fun, is very cinematic, because the system itself entices you. It kind of suggests using a very abstract distance system rather than playing on a strategic way, although there's a little conversion guide if you want to do so. And the magic works in exactly the same way. So there aren't 2 different systems that you have to learn in order to use magic of any kind. This quick start rule comes with a very basic adventure, with enough to give you an idea of what social interactions are like and what the combat is like, and also gives you a very good starting point. It opens the door to the full campaign that's being funded right now. You get all the pre-gen characters that you need, and it's actually very, very good. I have enjoyed this quite a lot. Obviously, with the quick start rules, I cannot tell what the full game will be like. I will need to read that when it's out. And evidently, not all the details are there. You don't get all the feats, all the powers, all the spells. But the basics, damn, they're really there. If you tell people to read 8 pages, they will be able to play this game, which to me is fantastic, because I don't like games in which I either have to be explaining constantly all the time absolutely everything, or everybody has to read a 200, 300, 400, however many pages book. This quick start does that insanely well. So, do I think this game is worth the amount of money you have to spend to back it? I think so. I think this is very promising. The system is quite simple. The dice pool mechanic I like. I know it's not for everybody, but I actually quite enjoy dice pool mechanics, and the D10 together with the D20 is my favorite die, so that's sold to me. I would have a go. And getting the quick rules, definitely worth it. It's gonna take you a couple of hours to read it. The game, this adventure is played in, a couple of hours, 3 if you go really slow and really enjoy the social interaction of the first encounter. So I would take a look. I'm really glad I did, and I think the Red Scar people are going to do the Mantic people very, very proud. And considering how many minis, how many tiles, how much lore there is within the Mantic games, this is going to be an absolutely fantastic companion. I hope at some point I will be able to do a review of the previous physical book, which would be absolutely excellent. If you have enjoyed this video, please do subscribe. I'd love to have you around, and talk to you very soon indeed. Leave me your comments down there. They are very welcome, very, very welcome. And a thumbs up if you have enjoyed this video. Let me know what you think. I very much look forward to hearing from you. Take care.